tried to dunk a basketball and your knees wasn't stable, what would happen? See, most of us in life, we trying to slam dunk, right? Get to our power without stabilizing, right? See, listen, it's a model called OPT, right? Stability, strength, power. Most of us skip the stability part and try to live in our power, but we end up injuring something, pulling something, or worse, tearing something. Today, I'm about to break this whole model down and what it really looks like in real life and why you keep tearing or injuring your life trying to get to your power. What it do, good people? Happy Sunday to you, man. Welcome to Soul Truth Sunday, baby. I'm your host, FL, your life coach. And if it's this your first time joining, settle in. Sit with your boy for about 30 minutes, right? And if you been rocking with the community, you already know how we get down, baby. We about to get into it. But today's episode, I want to show you and teach you that in order to live in your power, you must stabilize and strengthen first. You feel me? Yeah, man, we about to get into it. And remember, this is a live Q&A, good people. So drop your questions below. I get to them throughout the chat, right? And if I can't get to them, I promise I'll try to get to them next week, but we will leave no question unanswered. So if you ready to get into it? Come on, let's get into it. Listen, before I start, I want you to understand this. I wrote this down. You cannot live in your power without stability. All right. So listen, I'm gonna tie this book in, man. OPT training, baby. Optimum performance training. Shout out to Dr. Calvin Johnson, man, one of my mentors, one of my good friends. He gave me this book years ago, good people, when I was trying to go pro in basketball and I had tore my hamstring. And it changed my whole philosophy, not just the way I worked out, right, and my biomechanics, but it changed my life philosophy because it made me realize the same model that the OPT uses, stability, strength, and power, is the same model we have to use in life if we really want to operate from our power, right? From our gifting, our calling, our authenticity. So I'm finna tie this all in for you together, right? So come on, let's get started. So OPT, right? Nervous system, right? I'm gonna tie this into the nervous system, right? And your amygdala in the brain and all of that. And then at the end, I'm going to give you 3 practical steps that you can start doing today, right? To start walking in your power, right? So come on. So OPT, man. So the first part, stability. What is the stability part? Well, in the OPT workout in the physical body, your stability muscles are the small muscles. Think about those muscles as the brakes of the body, right? So think about deceleration, right? Stopping you, right? So those are your small muscles. Abductors, the inner outer thighs, your hip flexors, right? Your lower back. Those are the muscles that help stabilize your pelvis and your spine, right? So stability is regulation, right? Regulating your nervous system. Your stability is your purpose, your why. Why do you do what you do in life? Stability muscles, right? Then your strength muscles, right? In your physical body, right? Those are the bigger muscles. Those are the muscles that show up right through the clothing, right? You ever seen somebody and they're really fit or cut and you can see their pecs, you can see their shoulders, you might be able to see their quads through their jeans. If it's a woman or a guy, even a guy, you might be able to see their butt calf muscles. Strength, presence. Your strength in life is your presence. How are you showing up every single day? And then the power, that's your authentic expression, good people. That's when the prefrontal cortex comes online, right? That's when your hippocampus is all working, right? That's when all 3 major parts of your brain is working. Your power in the OPT, right? In your physical body, you cannot perform a power move on the basketball court, a dunk, a layup, pinning somebody's shot on the backboard, right? Right? Without first stabilizing and strengthening, without first your stability muscles and then your strength muscles firing in sequence, right? Power always exposes muscle imbalances in your physical body. But it's the same way in life, good people. Because listen, you cannot create while dysregulated. I wrote this down. You cannot expand while in fight or flight. Expansion only happens in safety, right? And safety happens in stability, right? No safety, no expansion, no growth, no creation, just patterns, right? Which brings me to the next section, right? I want to talk about the amygdala, right? Patterns, right? The survival part of your brain, right? So let me how I want to reference this, how I want to say it's like this. Your amygdala, the survival part of your brain, it's not bad, it's not broken, it don't need to be fixed, it's not evil, right? It just learns different, right? I want you to really hear this. It learns different. So the way your amygdala learns in the first 7 years, it learns through absorbing the environment, what you seen, what you heard, what you experienced or felt, right? About money, relationships, identity, God, in those first 7 years. So the amygdala runs off patterns, systems. Its job is to keep you alive, survival. That's the job of the amygdala, right? Its job is not to keep you successful. His job is not to keep you purposeful. His job is not to keep you authentic. Authentic. That's what I wrote down here. His job is not to keep you authentic, right? Its only job is survival, good people, right? I wrote this down. You don't delete the system, you update it. There's nothing wrong with your system, right? You got to update it. See, listen, the system develops from the bottom up. Shout out to Dr. Ford, who'll be joining me next Sunday, baby, for Soul Truth Sunday. So make sure you check out that episode. I'll say more about it at the end of this. But it develops from the bottom up, right? So your amygdala is the first part of the brain that's developed. Then you got the hippocampus, then you got the prefrontal cortex at the top. That's the last part of the brain that develops, right? So your amygdala, like I said earlier, it learns differently. So this is the soul truth I want you to get before we go to the next section on how it learns, right? Through consciousness. You don't need a new system or a new brain. You just got to update the software, good people. You got to update the pattern, right? That serve you, that serve your money, your relationships, your health, your identity now in 2026 and beyond. And how do you update that pattern? How do you update it? Through consciousness, through awareness, right? So this next section I want to talk about is levels of consciousness, right? What is levels of consciousness? Think about it from a video game standpoint, right? All my gamers out there will understand this because I'm a gamer. My mom was a gamer. Shout out to my mom, man. Shout out to my mom, big gamer. So listen, I used to play sports games a lot, but my mom used to play like fighting games like Zelda, Tomb Raider, games like that, right? That had all these different levels, right? And even when I was younger, my gift is pattern recognition, right? My gift is translation. My gift is communication. So I used to be outside playing, and when there were certain levels that my mom couldn't get to, she would call me in to beat those certain levels, right? But this is what I realized: levels of consciousness. Even on the video game, each level presented new challenges, right? New obstacles, new awareness, new tools, new weapons. And the second, third, fourth levels, the weapons didn't carry over. So from level 1 to level 2, what you gained on level 1 never carried over to level 2. You had to re-regulate or learn what was really going on that level. So listen, level 1, I wrote this down. Level 1 coping skills won't beat level 5 challenges, right? So your first 7 years, the way you learned, right? Now you 30, 40, 50, and you're still trying to cope with things now in your 30s, 40s, 50s, the way you absorbed it in those first 7 years. That don't work. See, listen, I wrote this down. Most people stay stuck because they're trying to live an elevated life with outdated software. You see the gap? Elevated life with outdated software always creates the gap. So you got to update the software. So this is the soul truth before we go to the next section. Before we go to that next section about pattern interruption, right? So this is what I want you to get. New levels requires new regulation. Regulation isn't a destination, it's a practice. You'll never arrive. It's a practice. You got to continuously regulate at the different levels of consciousness. The higher you go, the more stable or regulated you have to be, because there can be no revelation without regulation or stability, right? So now that brings me to this next section, which is pattern interruption. I want to talk about pattern interruption right now. Okay. So the pattern interruption, right? Everything that we learned in life today, right, is learned behavior, good people. I want you to really catch this, right? I want you to catch this. It's learned behavior, right? So your amygdala learns, like I said, by absorbing an environment. So what's learned behavior now in 2026 for you and me? Money beliefs, relationship patterns, identity, religion, that's learned doctrine, politics, that's learned worldview, self-talk, that's learned internal emotional state, energy, emotion. But this is the part I want you to get. Learned behavior isn't bad. Okay, let me say it like this. I learned entrepreneurship in those first 7 years. I'm 47 years old. I've only had 2 jobs my whole life, good people. Other than that, I've operated in entrepreneurship, right? That learned behavior has served me well, right? So learned behavior is not always bad. Now, on the flip side, I learned the behavior of people pleasing, and I learned the behavior of performance anxiety, right? Because what I saw, what I heard, and what I absorbed, right? Always trying to keep the climate of the environments calm, right? People pleasing, didn't want to ruffle feathers, right? Shrinking myself in certain environments, right? And then performance anxiety, right? Right? Always felt like my worth was tied to what I did and not my being, right? But those are a whole other video. But I'm trying to show you learned behavior. Everything that I learned, that you learn, is learned behavior, because we all come to this earth as a blank canvas. You hear me say this all the time. Think about this. When you're born on this earth, your canvas is blank, right? So before you even get mature enough, before your brain even develops enough for you to pick up your own brush and write your own pictures and write your own philosophies, your own beliefs, your own core values, right? You already got pictures on that canvas. You already got core values. You already got beliefs, right? I'm not saying those things are good, bad, or indifferent. But what I am saying is that this is what I want you to take away. Unexamined or unconscious learned behavior becomes limitation. I'm going to say that one more time before we go to the next section. Unexamined learned behavior becomes limitation, right? So you must interrupt, regulate, and rebuild. Not every pattern that was absorbed or learned is bad, but you have to have your prefrontal cortex on and your hippocampus on so you can have context on what was learned, right? And then your prefrontal cortex can assign meaning and give it direction. Interrupt, regulate, rebuild. All right. Then I wrote this down. If you don't build new patterns, the old ones resurface. Okay, so let me say it like this: when people are addicted to things, right? Just take tobacco, or nicotine. When most people are addicted to that, they tell you it's not enough just to break the pattern or break that habit, right? You got to replace it with a healthier pattern, or the old pattern will resurface more aggressive. It'll come back. So this is what I want you to understand before we go to the next part. Why people actually burn out and actually tear something in life, right? Because they're not stable. Awareness interrupts, regulation rebuilds. Let that sink in. All right. Now I'm finna tell you why people burn out, right? And why people tear things, not just physically, on how I tore my hamstring the same way I'm about to tie this all in my physical body, but people normally tear things in their life. So why? Why do people burn out or tear something in life? Because they chase. I wrote down they chase instead of regulate or stabilize. So what do they chase? Their power, their authenticity, their calling, right? Their gifting, right? Influence, impact, money, visibility. But without stability, you run the risk of tearing something in your life because power can't be sustained unless it's stable. Okay, let me say it like this. Explosive power, right? When something explodes, right? Explosive power is very dangerous, right? Because it doesn't only just knock out or take out what you're trying to destroy, it destroys everything around there. Explosive power is kind of uncontrolled power, right? So when it explodes, it's real big, but then it ends up burning out, right? Right? But stable power, right? Or a stable fire, right? Think of a wildfire, right? That goes for miles because it's stabilized, right? So I want you to see this. If you don't stabilize or regulate your nervous system, you end up tearing something in your own life, your marriage, right? Your identity, your money, right? Relationships, health, just like basketball, like I told you, right? You cannot train your power before stabilizing the small muscles. You end up tearing something like I did in my physical body when I tore my hamstring 8 weeks before my pro tryout because I didn't have stabilization. I tried to get to my power from my strength and it ended up tearing something in my body, right? Life is no different, good people. I wrote down this and then I'm about to let you go. I'm about to give you the 3 ways you can start stabilizing, strengthening, and walking in your power this week. So this is the soul truth I want you to take away before I give you these next 3 steps. Your power requires stability. You can't live in that without first stabilizing. Right? Okay. So here we go, good people. Appreciate you. Drop your questions in the comment. If you got questions or something is hitting you or resonating with you, drop it in the comments. This is community, baby. This is nervous system work, right? This is soul work. This is identity work. So you know I'm your life coach, right? That's why you be showing up every week. That's why we've been talking about it every week. Nervous system work, identity work, soul work. So these are the 3 steps this week that you can take to start walking in your power, right? Step 1, identify the pattern, the program. What did you absorb in your early years about money, identity, relationships, health? What did you see? What did you hear? What did you experience or feel about those things, right? That's your stability, good people. Step 2, pause without judgment, right? I wrote this down. When the old behavior shows up this week, not if, it will because it's a practice, not a destination. Don't fight it. Don't shame it. Don't judge it. Just observe it, good people. Awareness. Let awareness do the work. Observe. That's how you strengthen yourself through awareness, right? The third thing, right? Third step I wrote down, reframe and repeat. Acknowledge the old behavior pattern, breathe through it, and then you got to declare that was the old learned behavior, but this is who I am now. That's your power. Put that on repeat mode every single day, right? Regulate, strengthen, then express. Listen, stop chasing your power, good people. Build your stability, build strength, and your power follows. man, your power follows. And listen, that is so true Sunday today, good people. Stability, strength, power. If you want to start living in your power, you must first build stability and strength because there can be no revelation without regulation, and there can be no expansion without safety. That is so true Sunday today, good people. Listen, remember to join us next week. Me and Dr. Ford, he joins me every first Sunday, right? We're going to be talking about trauma versus responsibility. At what point does awareness make you accountable? So you don't want to miss that next week, right? We're going to be talking about that. So bring your questions. Every time I go live, it's a live Q&A. So listen, good people. Until next time, if you want to live in your power, you must first stabilize, strengthen, and your power always follows. So until next time, FL Life Coach, good people, always spreading that peace and love twice on Sunday. Go out, attract the life of your dreams. Remember, stability, strength, then you live in your power. Y'all already know what to do. There to be you, baby. Happy Sunday to you.